What's up, everybody? I'm Ryan Thomas, host of the Thomas Takes Sports Podcast, and today I have another guest on the show today, Salvatore Angelo, a longtime buddy of mine, went to high school together, and we both have grown up in Western New York, in Buffalo, as longtime Buffalo Bills fans, so of course, that's what we will be talking about today, the Buffalo Bills in the 2016 NFL season, along with a couple other topics I'm going to touch on with Salvatore that are kind of mainstream headlines within the NFL. So, Sal, how are you? Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Awesome. So, Sal, you might not know this, but I remember a couple years ago I joined your show a few times, and that was kind of what got me thinking of starting my own show. So, Salvatore, without you, there would be no Thomas Take.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's funny. I remember that night. It was actually a Sunday night football game between Green Bay and Houston. And I think if I recall correctly, earlier in the day, the Bills played the Niners, and it was a 45-3 blowout loss. In San Francisco. Am I right? Am I wrong? I mean,
you're right. Unfortunately, you're right. That was a awful day.
The great thing about internet and the great thing about everything about the web is you can always go back and listen to it. So that actually, if you want to take a listen again to see how much you've come or where you started and where you are now, with blogtalkradio.com, type Bill Cody 1960, you can listen to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that out because that was a long time ago and that was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So, Sal, I got a few questions for you in regards to this 2016 Buffalo Bills season, this 2016 Buffalo Bills team, and the state of the roster now in comparison to where it was when training camp was started. Obviously, Reggie Ragland is there's no timetable on how long he'll be out, but definitely a devastating knee injury that was kind of a weird one, a non-contact knee injury. Also, we have guys that have been dinged up over the course of the last few days. Cordy Glenn, Richie Incognito, their injuries aren't serious, but Cordy Glenn is supposed to be held out for the preseason. Yesterday, I had a kind of made a drop in the bucket, so to speak, posted a status on Facebook about how I think the Buffalo Bills should not have contact that early in training camp because I was there day one and there was full pads and full contact, and I thought that was kind of crazy. First day of training camp. What is your take on teams having players play in full pads and having their team practice with full contact right out of the gate?
Well, first I'd like to respond to the injuries already on the Bills team. Right now, I was listening to Rex's press conference here about noontime today, and they were talking about Ragland, and it's too early to determine as to the extent of the injury due to the swelling, so they're going to wait for that to at least alleviate a little bit before they get a better diagnosis. Right now, I think a lot of people in the media obviously sounds like they're better at being a doctor than a team doctor, so everyone's trying to speculate what the issue is. Right now, they can't really determine it's the suspect of a torn ACL, not too sure. But then also on Richie Incognito and Cordy Glenn, they're expected to be all right. Apparently, according to Rex, they're going to be back shortly. But talking about, you look around, I mean, Baltimore just devastated with injuries. The Bills have had the injury bug so far this training camp. You see it all around New England. A lot of teams are dealing with injuries, and a lot of that's due to the collective bargaining agreement. Whereas prior training camps, they had 2 days. Now there's a lot more regulation as to how many 2 days they can have, how much protection there is. And with anything, when you don't do something enough, you're more prone to injury. So they're not developing the proper strategy and techniques and spending the time to get their bodies used to the full one-on-one hitting. So when they do have the time, coaches are making as much as possible, and you're watching what's going on right now, and guys are just getting hurt. So, it's great that they're protecting themselves, but how much are they really protecting themselves by reducing the amount of practice time? It seems to me that now since they've done that, injuries have gone up.
Yeah.
So I'd be concerned. I know Belichick spoke to it last year when they had lost a lot of players during the preseason. Spoke to the fact they're getting their bodies acclimated to the hitting, and so when they do hit, they're getting injured, and it's actually an adverse effect for the NFL. What they plan to do to help protect players, it's actually doing the opposite.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, the limited amount of time that they have in comparison to what they had before, coaches might want to ramp things up, and that's what's forcing the issue with injuries. That they're forcing the issue, and it causes players to get hurt. In the I think it's been 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. He's been under the organization for probably 4 or 5 years. But as a general manager, what is your assessment on Doug Whaley as a GM for the Buffalo Bills? I mean, he's had some hits, he's had some misses. What is your take on GM Doug Whaley? I mean, it is kind of frustrating for Bills fans. We're entering the 16th year without the playoffs, and we have a good draft in April, and the first-round pick, Shaq Lawson, is out for the first few weeks of the season at least, and Reggie Ragland, there's no timetable, as we said earlier, but it's kind of frustrating, the Shaq Lawson thing. Some fans think that they should have done their due diligence a little bit more in researching that Shaq Lawson shoulder injury. What's your take on Doug Whaley as a GM?
My issue is, I get so upset with the way the Bills draft year after year. The last really good draft the Bills had, to be honest with you, is back in 2011 when they drafted Darius with the third overall pick. And they had a good draft in 2013, obviously with Marone. Obviously the first round pick Manuel. I just think that the Whaley and the coaching staff really could have done a better job with handling the Manuel situation. They've ultimately ruined his career with the way they played him, the way they've used him, the way they brought him along. You can't expect the guy. I mean, look at Cam Newton. His first year he was putting up stats, but they weren't winning games. Mm-hmm. It was Manuel. Manuel wasn't winning games, but you got to let that quarterback develop. It takes years. There's very, very few Brady's and Mannings out there. So when you get a guy like the Andy Daltons of the world, or the like I said before, you get Cam Newton, for example. I mean, really, his first great year was this year. I mean, he was efficient. Stats didn't really show it, but more or less completion percentage, things of that nature. He was taking care of the ball well.
As an all-around quarterback, this was his best year, and it's by a lot. It's not even by a little bit. He didn't really have a build-up. He kind of just had a couple good years, and then he had one really good year. And I agree with you. With the E.J. Manuel thing, I remember I was so mad that they drafted him in the first round that I left my house and I didn't watch the entire first round of the draft.
He definitely, Whaley definitely overreaches for players. They overreach for Manuel. They overreach for Watkins. They overreach for Shaq Lawson. They overreach for a lot of guys. He gets very excited on guys. And my thing is I'm upset with the way they direct the scouting. They seem to pick from like the few select schools, Clemson, Florida. And I look at another team and you hear, Hawaii, or you hear Washington State, or you hear teams that select players from very few and unknown locations. And I'm not saying just draft the guy because, he's from, Arkansas State. I'm not saying that, but you can find that same talent at the smaller schools. Unfortunately, I don't think what they're doing is, I don't think they're broadening their efforts to do a very, very in-depth search.
I agree.
I know we're going to be talking about New England in a few minutes, but I always like to relate everything to New England. The nice thing about New England is they're all over the map when they draft. They actually drafted Nate Ebner. Right now he's in Rio de Janeiro. They're going to have an Olympic tournament for rugby. So right now he's abstaining from practice with New England to participate in the Olympics, which congratulations to him. Hope he does well as a Bills fan, as a New England fan. Just as a fan of the NFL, I expect to see someone do something that positive. But here or there, if you take a look at their past drafts, where they select, they go all the way from, like I said, Rutgers to Hawaii to they had drafted from a little-known college in Colorado this year. I'm trying to land with the past couple of years. I can't. The great thing is he has a lot of associations with college. Nick Saban, Kirk Ferentz, Pat Hill. I'm not really too sure what goes on in those organizations, but I don't see any news articles that come up about Whaley conversating with Les Miles or a college coach to get a perspective on a player. It seems like he's going to do what he wants to do, and, it's his way or the highway, and Marone and him had a conflict, and that's more or less probably the reason why Marone wanted out.
Yeah, it is.
They work together well.
Yeah, that is. I think that's the lone reason why, and then with unsure ownership, Doug Marone isn't on my list of most redeeming individuals in the NFL, but as far as that goes, I definitely think that I just, as a coach, to quit on a team, I don't like, as a coach, that was not something that you would want as a player or as a fan, to see your coach has an opt-out clause and then to have that coach take it. But
you know what it is if you take a look, it all started with the Sammy Watkins trade.
Yeah.
Marone was upset that we had used the first round pick to trade up with Cleveland from 9 to 4 to get Watkins. When then they had Khalil Mack that was still available with that pick, they could have used that on.
They could have took Beckham.
Cleveland was probably not going to even draft Watkins. Watkins could have followed us at 9.
Yeah.
And then 2, looking at the other receivers that were drafted, Odell Beckham's.
Yeah.
Who's the receiver for Carolina?
Kelvin Benjamin, and they could have traded back into the first round with where Benjamin was picked. He was picked last out of the rookie class. So Mike Evans could have been a guy. And Bill Polian, I talk about him a lot, as far as him being one of the greatest talent evaluators in professional sports history, in any sport. And the reason why I feel that is because he made the most of his opportunities. If he traded back or if he traded up, he would do it in a way that he was going to capitalize. He's going to make his team twice as good as it was before the trade or before the draft. The Cornelius Bennett, Shane Conlon draft, the plucking Steve Tasker off the waiver wire from Houston, and just things like that. Not many GMs are in the Hall of Fame, for one, and there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why he is now. But yeah, I got another question for you too, and this is about the Bills, and we'll talk about New England. If the Bills finish outside the playoffs this year, which is a possibility, it's a possibility that they'll make it, it's a possibility that they won't. It's 50-50 right now. What are your thoughts on, if the Bills finish outside the playoffs, do you think Rex Ryan should be fired?
Well, I think number one, the goal of being the new owner is when you see teams take over new ownership, if changes don't happen fast, they get very itchy. They have an investment. Let's take a look. Recently, Eddie DeBartolo Jr. was just inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. When he took over the Niners, he cleaned house. When Robert Kraft took over the New England Patriots, he cleaned house. He hired Bill Parcells. They drafted Drew Bledsoe. They had drafted great players. They built a new stadium. Owners want to see results, and they want to see them now. So I think if they don't do anything this year, if they don't make the playoffs, which personally, I'm not going to comment as to whether they are or aren't. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I think that if all else fails this year, I think you're going to see the GM leave. You're going to see coach fired. I think you're going to see a lot of changes happen. But the thing is, the coach more or less was hired by Pagula, but the reality is, we're not really too sure of that. I'm sure Whaley had some say into that because being a new owner, you more or less listen to the people who are there than yourself, because you're trying to get guidance as well, being a new owner to a new team. But now I think Pagula had 2 years of owning the team. If anything, if they don't make the playoffs this year, I definitely see a complete sweep of the house, and we'll see what happens.
Not to cut you off, but I'm going to end this part one with you. We talked about the Buffalo Bills, did a preview of the 2016 season for the Buffalo Bills. Talked about Doug Whaley as well. I'm going to carry this over to part 2, where we talk about the New England Patriots. We'll be right back.